There's a quote that says, "You're crazy until you're successful, and then you're a genius." You may know that I scaled my agency past consistent 60, 70K plus months, but I had a really ugly start, honestly. It took me almost 2 years to hit 5K a month consistently, when in reality, probably could have taken about 6 months if I had the knowledge. My first year in business, I worked full time on the business and I averaged $1,500 a month in revenue. My second year, I averaged less than $3,000 a month. And it was really hard on me mentally because, like, when you're young, especially, 2 years feels like forever. And I also dropped out of computer science at a good university to become an entrepreneur. And when you do that, like, in some people's eyes, you're crazy and delusional and they doubt you. But once you're successful, and only once you're successful, they think you're a genius and they're trying to figure out how you did it. And that's all cool. But the hard part is becoming successful over this extended period of time, over several years, when you have clear doubters. And ironically, some of the closest people to me were the ones who doubted me the most, and they were the ones whose opinions I valued the most. So it made things really tough for me mentally. And people will tell you, use it as fuel and this kind of stuff, and it's like, sure, but that's just so much easier said than done. Like most things, right? So if you want to hit 5K a month as fast as possible, and as realistically as possible too, this video will probably help you do that. And there are really like two main things I wanted to talk about in this video. The first one being chasing bigger fish. So I'll tell you a story from one of my friends. His name is Hassan. He's actually the guy behind my YouTube channel. Most people don't know there's a guy behind my YouTube channel. Great guy. Scaled his SMMA. He was doing like organic content. He had like an organic content agency. He still has it. But when he was, I think, 18 years old, he immediately started working with startups, these bigger companies. And the first retainer he ever got was $8,000 a month, like right off the bat. And it was while he was in school too. So when I started out, I was charging like nothing, and I was working with people who, I guess, just like didn't have a lot of money. I was just selling to the average real estate agent. The average real estate agent not having too much money, and there's no fault in that. But if we're talking about this conversation of getting to $5,000 a month in your agency as quickly as possible, do you want to take numerous meetings and have to close, let's say, 5 to 10 times as many sales to get to that same number? Or do you want to take just a few meetings, only have to close one, and still hit that number, right? Or potentially far exceed it. So in my opinion, one of the fastest ways and most realistic ways to hit 5K a month, and I'll tell you how it's actually realistic, is to work with bigger companies. When I started out, I actually didn't have the belief that I was qualified or good enough, or I don't know, I didn't have the belief, I didn't have the confidence to even think that I could swing landing a client like that. And what's funny is the difference between Hassan and I, from a skill set standpoint, we started at about the same time. We had both had, I guess in his situation, he didn't even really have any, I don't even think he had any case studies at the time. And to be fair, I think his first client was more of a video production thing, but I could be completely wrong. So don't quote me on that. I should probably fact check that. But he works with some real big brands and has worked with some real big brands like Fujifilm and number of big YouTubers, 6 million subs, all this kind of stuff, in the organic space as well. So he is in SMMA too, but bit of a tangent there. If you're looking to, get these higher retainers, it's actually a mental block more than anything. Because Hassan was 18, he was in school, like he knew his way around a camera, but He didn't know his way around sales. Maybe he knew a bit about organic social media. He did have, a little bit of experience posting YouTube videos on his own, but it was nothing major, right? And he just stepped out and landed an 8K a month client. And again, the difference here that I want to outline is the belief that it can be done. And I was talking to him about this, and for him, he always knew that he could achieve these things. I think a big part of that may be because he's from LA and he went to school with and knew people who had a lot of money. That wasn't as much the case for me. I went to school with a bunch of people who were very corporate and come from families who, grow in the corporate world. And so I had this belief that only basically like geniuses and special people are rich. So flawed. I had no idea though. And I say this so openly and so honestly because I'm fairly confident that a lot of you guys watching these videos think the same thing. A lot of guys start off charging $100 a month, $200 a month, and it can be a good way to get experience, but it doesn't have to be that way. It can be that way. It depends on your model, and if you have a plan, I'll talk about that in the second part here in a second, but if you have a plan and you know what you're doing, or you at least know what your plan is and you think you know what you're doing, then, by all means, you can pursue that. I'm just saying, if we want the lowest friction way to get to $5,000 a month, then one of the best things you can do is charge clients who have tons of money, which are big corporations. All you have to do is you still have to just land meetings with people, right? You can do your LinkedIn outreach, you can do cold email, you can cold call. Cold calling would be more difficult because there are gatekeepers in corporate settings and so on and so forth. But, say LinkedIn outreach, most of Hassan's thing was built on LinkedIn outreach. He didn't even do all that much of it. And because it was a much less saturated space, then it was easier for him to get through. And it sounds so simple. It sounds so dumb easy, but it is. That's what's crazy. It actually is that dumb, simple, easy, so to say. It's not easy in that, it takes guts to do something like that, and not everybody has the belief, so it's very hard to shift the belief. But if you, against your beliefs, started to, say, target these bigger companies that have more money, bigger budgets, etc., then you'll quickly, or more quickly, have your beliefs shifted, especially if you actually stick to it for a long period of time. And the second thing I wanted to talk about was using your intuition. A lot of the time when you're starting out, your intuition's trash. I'll be honest, that's true. But you ultimately, I don't want to tell you what to think, but my goal is to learn how to be self-sufficient and not have to lean on other people all the time for my success in business. That's why I'm a big fan of originality. I'm also a very intuitive person. Like my Myers-Briggs, if you've done a Myers-Briggs personality assessment, mine is INTJ, which is a very common one for entrepreneurs. So I'm very intuitive, which basically means like you can figure things out on your own. Now, the truth is, right, people will talk about, do you need like a coach, for example, right? No, you don't. It's just that things will take you significantly longer if you don't have the knowledge from somebody else who has already walked the path, right? That's why you're watching this video right now. You're seeing, from my point of view, the experiences I've had and the experience I've seen other people, the experiences I've heard from friends and seen other people have, right? And I'm able to distill that for you and give you this craziness, which is like Hassan at 18 goes out and gets an 8K a month client like that, right? With hardly any meetings, just with some LinkedIn outreach, one account, no craziness. So I use my intuition to get to 5K a month. And the thing is, there's more than just intuition involved. Intuition can give you a general idea of where to go, but having an advisor, I think, is where I went wrong as well. because your intuition can be wrong, and a lot of things in business are counterintuitive, which is where things go so like out of whack here and become much more difficult and much more challenging. Is like there are things that seem like the obvious next step that simply are not. I talked about this in one of my last videos, just like talking like this. Okay, this video is going to have one cut in it. But one of the things that I was talking about there was this, for me, the natural next step from starting my agency and getting it up and running to moving on to selling like a coursified version to teach agents, real estate agents, how to run their ads. That was actually the wrong thing to do at the time. So that's why having advisors is another really fast way to do things. So it's like, and it may sound contradictory, right? There's me saying use your intuition, but there's also me saying be careful when using your intuition. And that's a skill that needs to be developed. And if you're aware of this, then, it just makes life a lot easier and you know what to look out for. I didn't, right? And in these videos, all I'm really trying to do is be the person that I never had when starting my agency. So I hope I can be that for some of you guys, because I was very lost and it took me such a long time to get things up and running. Thankfully now there's a lot more knowledge online in the agency space. But I know you guys are smart. I know you'll learn from the mistakes of others, such as myself. Instead of taking the longer road. If you know yourself to be a stubborn person, then look out, because I can have that tendency sometimes myself. But if you want to learn actually directly from me in a more personalized format, learn from my mistakes, and I'm getting a group of agency owners together, like-minded people. I don't work with just anybody, but if you're interested in joining my mastermind, book a call with me. The link's in the description. That way you can learn more. The goal is just for everybody to connect and be less lonely on this very difficult journey, and just so that everybody can basically scale faster together. So again, links in the description for that. Otherwise, go to my channel, watch some more videos if you want more free value, or just click whatever's popping up on screen, and I'll see you there.